Namaste everyone, I'm your co-host Shawnee ma'am. Welcome to your favorite learning channel. The topic for today's video is structure of stomata. So, we will begin today's video by understanding what is stomata and how it helps, and then we will know about the structure of stomata. Okay. So, what is stomata? Stomata, they are tiny pores. Okay, they are tiny pores that are present. Where are they present? They are present on the epidermis of leaves. Okay, epidermis is the outermost layer. Okay, so on the outermost layer of leaves stomata are usually present. Okay, so these stomata, they are guarded by, the stomata are guarded by a pair of, that means two kidney shaped or bean shaped bean shaped cells, and these guarding cells are called the guard cells. Okay, so these guard cells guard the stomata. Okay, now what happens, these guard cells, the guard cells, what do? They regulate, they help in regulating opening and closing of stomata. So the opening and closing of stomata is regulated by these guard cells, which are kidney shaped or bean shaped in structure. Okay, now let's see what is the function of stomata. So these stomata, as we already saw, they are tiny pores. They allow, the stomatal pores or stomata allow the exchange. And exchange of what? Exchange of gases between, also gases as well as water vapor. Also water vapor between, and this exchange takes place between the plants and the environment. So during photosynthesis, the gases are exchanged and water vapor is exchanged between the plants and the environment. So this is the main function of stomata. Okay, now let's see the working of the guard cells. Let's see how do they work. Okay, so what happens is, the outer walls of guard cells, okay, they are actually thin, whereas the inner walls of these guard cells, they are thicker. Okay, and normally what happens is, normally the stomatal pores or the stomata, they are open during the daytime. Okay, and these stomatal pores or stomata remain closed during the night time. Okay, and the cause of opening and closing of stomata depends on cause of opening and closing. And closing of what? Of stomata. Of stomata depends on the change in turgidity. Depends on the change in turgidity. Change in turgidity of guard cells. Okay, so when the turgidity changes in guard cells, this becomes responsible for the process of opening and closing of stomata. Okay, so here we can see, let's see how these guard cells work and help in opening and closing of stomata. So here we can see that in this diagram there is water here which is diffusing inside. Okay, so when the water diffuses inside the guard cells, what happens is the guard cells become swollen. And as the guard cells swell, why do they swell? Because the turgidity of the guard cells becomes more and the outer walls bulge outside. Here we can see the outer wall which is bulging outside, and because of this what is happening, the inner walls, these are the inner walls that are drawn apart from each other. Okay, so this helps in opening of the stomata. Here we can see that the stomata is being opened. Okay, now let's see the next picture of closing of stomata. So here what is happening, water is coming out of the guard cells. Okay, so the water is drawn out of the guard cells. Now what is happening, guard cells becomes flaccid. Okay, so in the above diagram or picture we saw that the guard cells became more turgid. Here we can see due to the loss of water from the guard cells they are becoming flaccid, and due to this the inner wall straighten. We can see this is the inner wall, it is being straightened. Okay, and hence the inner wall is coming closer to each other, and this is leading to the closing of stomata. Okay, so this is how the guard cells work. When the water goes inside the guard cells, they become more turgid, the outer walls swell up, and due to this swelling the inner walls are drawn apart from each other, and when they are drawn apart from each other it leads to opening of stomata, whereas during closing of stomata water actually comes outside of the cell, and this makes the cells flaccid, and because of this the inner walls straighten and it leads to closing of stomata. Okay, then now we will move on. Now that we know how guard cells work and they help in opening and closing of stomata, we'll talk about another structure called pneumatophores. Pneumatophores. So let's see what these are. So apart from stomata, there are some plants that have specialized roots. Some plants have, okay, there are some plants that have specialized roots. Okay, and these roots, what do? They can respire. Okay, these are specialized roots which can respire, and these are called, what? They are called pneumatophores. Okay, so pneumatophores are specialized roots present in some plants that can respire. Okay, Hence, they are also known as breathing roots. Breathing roots. Pneumatophores are also known as what? They are also known as breathing roots. Okay. So they grew out from water. They grew out from water. Okay. So from the water surface they grow out, and they grow out from water surface, and what do they facilitate? And they facilitate aeration. Okay. And they can be seen in trees present in swampy areas. They are present in trees that are found in swamps or swampy areas. Okay, for example, let's take one example of mangroves. Okay, so mangroves have these specialized roots called pneumatophores that help in respiration, or they help to respire, and hence they are also known as breathing roots. Okay, so let's now quickly revise the things that we have covered today. So we saw what stomata meant. So stomata are actually tiny pores, and these pores are present on the epidermis of leaves. And these stomata, they are guarded by two kidney or bean shaped cells. We can see here these are guard cells and these are kidney or bean shaped cells. So there are two guard cells that guard stomata, and the guarded bean or kidney shaped cells are called as guard cells. Okay, so what do these guard cells do? These guard cells actually regulate. What do they regulate? They regulate the opening and closing of stomata. Now what is the function of stomata? So stomata, as they are tiny pores, they allow the exchange of gases and water vapor between the plants and the environment. Okay. Then we talked about the working of guard cells. So we saw that the outer walls of guard cells are usually thin, whereas the inner walls of guard cells are thicker than the outer walls. So stomata normally are opened during the daytime and they are closed during the night time. So this cause of opening and closing of stomata is dependent on the change in turgidity of the guard cells. Then we saw how guard cells actually work. So here we are representing the opening of stomata. So how does it work? We saw that when there is influx of water, that is when water is moving in, this is H2O that is moving inside the guard cells. So when water is moving inside the guard cells, the turgidity of the guard cells increases, they become more turgid, and because of this, because of moving in of water, what happens? This causes increase in turgidity, and due to this the outer walls of the guard cells, these are outer walls of guard cells, so outer walls of guard cells, they swell up or they bulge outwards. Okay, and due to this bulging, the inner walls, they are drawn apart from each other, and when these inner walls are being drawn apart from each other, then it is creating a space that is leading to the opening of stomata. Okay, then we saw how stomata was closing. So what happens during closing of stomata? Water molecules move out of guard cells. Here we can see water molecules are moving out from guard cells. Because of these, the guard cells become flaccid, and when they become flaccid, the inner walls of guard cells, they stick to each other or they get flattened. Okay, or they get straightened or flattened, and because of this, the inner walls are getting close to each other, and when they are getting close to each other, there is no space for opening, hence this is leading to the closing of stomata. So this is how the guard cells work, the turgidity works in guard cells, and because of this opening and closing of stomata takes place. Okay. Then we also discussed about specialized roots called pneumatophores. So these pneumatophores are specialized roots that can respire, and these pneumatophores, as they can respire, are also called as breathing roots. So these pneumatophores, they grow from the surface of water and they facilitate aeration. So these pneumatophores are present in such trees which grow in swampy regions or swampy areas. For example, mangroves. Here is a picture of pneumatophores. Okay, these are pneumatophores. They are growing in swampy regions, we can see. Okay, this is a swampy region, and the roots, these are specialized roots called pneumatophores that are growing and they help in aeration and are also known as breathing roots. Okay, so I hope you all would have got some great insights by watching today's video. Please do not forget to like and share the video. Till then, thank you for watching.